Hi everyone, this is Anaga from FTC Team 16290 Zip Ties, and welcome to our first video in this Java series. Today, we're going to talk about what programming means and what Java is. To start, let's learn about what programming is. Programming is how we talk to computers. Think of it like instructions to build a piece of furniture. If you don't have the correct manual, then you can't build the set. An example would be when you're building a chair. Normally, you would have your parts and tools, and you would have an instruction book to build your chair. You see the same in programming where you use variables and libraries, which are places where you can find pre-written code that you can integrate into your own, and write the same instructions. The difference between instructions in plain English and in this pseudocode, which is a mix of English terms and programming-like structures to better understand what you would write, is that the code is written for computers to understand. Computers take anything that you tell it to do quite literally. So if you were to say, attach the legs to the seat without specifying how many, your program may attach way more or way less amount of legs to the chair, whereas humans know that a chair should only have 4 legs. For your code to run properly, you will need a specified area to write it, using coding software. This software is called an Integrated Development Environment, or an IDE. IDEs can help you debug, refine, and highlight mistakes in your code and tell you exactly what is causing an error or what needs to be updated for your code to run smoothly. There are different types of IDEs like Android Studio, IntelliJ, and Online GDB. In this series, we will be using Online GDB as our IDE. Online GDB is a free website where you can code in Java and many other languages without having to install anything. All you need is your browser. Just go to onlinegdb.com, choose Java from the drop-down, and you'll see a space to write your code, a button to run it, and an area where your program's output will show up. Just like there are different languages for people, there are different programming languages for computers. The one that we will discuss in this series is Java. Java is one of the many programming languages used regularly in professional environments. With Java, we can build personal and industrial applications. A lot of the things that people see every day are built on Java. Android apps, bank systems, and big data technologies and game apps are all built in Java. Now let's move on to functions and how we use them. A function is a block of code that performs a specific task. Instead of writing the same instructions over and over again, we can put them inside a function and reuse them whenever we need to. For example, let's say we're programming a game and we have a piece of code that makes a character jump. Instead of saying the player jumps every time that the player jumps, we can put it into a function called jump. Then, anytime we want the player to jump, we just call that one function. This decreases repetitiveness in your code. Staying with the jump example, we can look into what this function does in its parts and how it's built. The first part is the function name, which in this case is jump. The name tells us what the function does. Whenever we call this function later in our program, we'll just type jump, and the computer will know to run the code inside of it. Function names should be clear and descriptive. That way, when someone else reads your code, they can easily understand what's happening. Next, we have the parentheses, right after the name. For this function, they're empty, but if we wanted to, we could add something inside the parentheses called parameters. Parameters are variables that hold specific values we can pass into the function. For example, if we wanted to tell the computer how high to jump, we could write that player's jumps to how many feet high you want it to by putting an integer into your parameter. Finally, we have the curly braces. These define the scope of the function, or everything that a computer will do when it runs. So everything that you write within the curly braces in the program is what will run. Now, let's take a look at a real Java program that uses a function that you'll see all the time. This prints hello world to the console. The first line, public class hello world, creates something called a class. Every Java program is built around classes. They're like containers that hold all of your code. The word public means that this class can be accessed by other parts of the program, and hello world is just the name that we're giving it. You can name your class almost anything you want as long as it starts with a capital letter and matches the file name. Next, you have public static void main string args. This is the main method, and it's one of the most important parts of a Java program. This is where your program actually starts running. When you press run, Java looks for this exact line, the main method, to know exactly where to begin. Public means that it can be accessed by the system. Static means that it belongs to the class and doesn't need an object to run. Void means that it doesn't return any value, and main is the name of the method. And inside the parenthesis, string args just means that it can take in information if we need to provide any when we run the program. Then, inside of the curly braces of the main method, we have system.out.println hello world. This is our print statement. This is what tells the computer to display a message on the screen. System refers to Java's built-in system tools. Out stands for output. That's how we send information to the console, and println means print line, which prints the message and moves the cursor to a new line. Then, what's in quotes is what will print to your console. Every programming language has something called syntax. Syntax is basically the grammar of programming. Just like English has rules on how to form sentences, programming languages have rules on how to form code. If we broke those rules, the computer won't understand what we're saying, and our program won't compile and will give you errors. Now, let's apply what we learned in the lesson and write our first Hello World code. Make sure you're open to Online GDB and have Java open from the dropdown. At the top, you can see where it says main.java. Let's rename that to Hello World, since what we're programming is Hello World. So we can start with our public class, Hello World, since that's our file name, and then add the curly brace for our scope. You'll notice that when I hit enter at the end, you can see that the bracket closes at the bottom and then there's an indentation. This means that you're now writing your code within the scope. Next, you'll add your main method, public static void main string args, and then open a new scope with a second curly bracket. When you hit enter, this scope is now within your big scope and you have another indentation. Now you can go ahead and write system.println hello world. Make sure you always add a semicolon at the end. Otherwise, your code won't run and you'll have a syntax issue. Now when you hit run, you can see that there's hello world written in your console. You can play around with this by putting something else in the quotes. So if I put hello, my name is Anaga in the quotes, it'll print hello, my name is Anaga to the console. In the next video, we'll learn about variables and data types. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.